So it's really an honor to be here in Singapore, a city that's been transformed by technology. And I came here today to talk with you about a simple idea, but perhaps one that may be controversial. And that is the idea that in this story of smart cities, the hero really is the data. And we're really embarking upon a technology-led transformation that's underway that will catapult our lives and our cities from being simply smart, which has been our effort over the last decade, to being intelligent. And we'll share what I see as the difference between smart and intelligent cities moving forward and their impact not only on the lives of citizens, but of the economics of cities and countries that employ them. Ironically, over the past millennia, it's technology itself that's enabled the creation of our modern urban environments. And since the invention of the steam engine, new technologies through the ages have further strengthened the role of our cities in humanity, but also accelerated our desire to live in or proximate to these environments. Everything from power generation and distribution to transportation systems, modern healthcare, higher education, and gainful employment are all beckoning people from rural outskirts into an increasingly dense urban sprawl. But technology is also to blame for creating many of the things that cripple and ail us. And therefore, I think it's incumbent upon technology itself, and specifically technologists, to help get us out of our polluted, immobile, unproductive, and often unsafe environments and into a future that is clean, sustainable, and efficient. And so, as I said, I believe the hero of this story is data. In fact, it's a whole lot of data, and it's data about the physical environments in which we live. And forward-thinking city planners have the ability to embrace this as a natural resource, one that can be powerful, deliver transformative results, and, I will argue, competitive advantage. As we travel around the world, and I'd like to showcase a couple of cities that are really on the forefront of embracing the journey from unconnected to connected, and then to intelligent systems, and eventually to a software-defined, autonomous, intelligent future. And there's some lessons that have been learned as these cities have evolved. And specifically, I want to showcase the lessons around data and how that data can be harnessed as a natural resource. Starting first here in Singapore, 50 years ago, when it became an independent country and had little natural resources. Remarkably, 50 years later, in a single generation, Singapore is now leading the world across many dimensions. The strategy over the last 50 years has been to invest in Singapore's primary natural resource, which is its people. Since that time, Singapore now has the single best education system in the world, and not just measured by traditional subjects such as mathematics and science, but also by creative problem solving. We now have a well-educated and sophisticated Singapore that has embraced technology as a tool to achieve competitiveness by raising productivity and transforming industries locally. Today, Singapore is arguably the information and technology hub of Asia Pacific. It's a regional base for most of the world's top technology companies, including Microsoft, Cisco, Amazon, and Google, as well as scores of startup companies, many of which we've heard from today. It connects the region with 15 submarine cable systems, delivering over 100 terabytes of data per second, and houses more than 50% of the data center space in Southeast Asia. The technology industry here is booming, with revenue growth averaging in the mid-teens for the last decade to over $200 billion, and currently housing over 150,000 technology professionals. The talent base will certainly grow as the Smart Nation initiative gains speed. In Singapore, Smart Nation and the idea of smartness refers more to how well the society engages and uses the technology to solve problems, rather than simply the complexity of the technology itself. Effectively, citizens, rather than the technology, are ultimately at the heart of Singapore's Smart Nation initiative. And while other cities have embraced technology to become smarter, perhaps no one has embraced its populace in the journey as Singapore has. And it's working. Recently, Juniper Research published their Global Smart City Performance Index, aiming to measure how technology saved time for people and impacted and improved their quality of life. Remarkably, but not surprisingly, Singapore scored number 1 in all 4 categories: mobility, health, safety, and productivity. For years, Singapore has looked around the world for best practices and has essentially become a net importer of technology, voraciously picking up best practices from other cities and bringing it home. It wasn't long before you ran out of practices from other cities and began developing your own innovative solutions, too many to name here. But I would argue that Singapore is now prepared to be a net exporter of smart city technology for the rest of the world. As we look to Europe, Barcelona is one of the cities that went smart years ago, and they've been at the forefront of this journey for all Europeans. Many of Barcelona's city services are connected, incorporating smart sensors and big data analytics into everything from parking and public transportation to trash collection, air quality, and parkland irrigation. But being a smart city is not a process or a journey. It's rather a destination. And after many initiatives and much acclaim, Barcelona felt that it needed to move its smart city to the next level of digital transformation. Smart Cities 3.0, as it were, requires these services to be connected to each other, with data available to the whole city, not siloed away. So they've embarked over the last year of building a new city platform, one that fuses data from multiple sources into a common operating system, in effect, with a Barcelona digital city database that connects citizens to the city government and enables them to better utilize a broad set of data being generated. Over time, the ability to fuse data from multiple sources should provide the next level of insight and productivity. Turning to the US, a town where I grew up, San Diego, is where Intel has been partnering with GE and AT&T on the development and rollout of smart streetlights across the city. There are several thousand smart streetlights deployed to date, and they accomplish many things. Of course, because they're LED, they save about 60% in energy costs, but they also use cameras to identify available parking spots and assist with both vehicular as well as pedestrian traffic. Perhaps most compelling is that the city has made much of its data public to academic institutions and developers who are allowed to build applications on top of this data platform and to help city planners do things like find which intersections are the most dangerous based on near crashes rather than actual accident information. Coming back to this part of the world, Kuala Lumpur has decided to adopt Alibaba's CityBrain cloud service, which has been used for the last few years in Hangzhou. And Kuala Lumpur plans to apply this centralized artificial intelligence service to problems like emergency response and traffic. This CityBrain allows city planners and government to think deeply and make decisions from a myriad of data sources. And what I like about it is that it's an early application of AI and computer vision technology applied to a city service that can be more responsive by learning from experiences, not just those in Kuala Lumpur, but based on models that have been trained in Hangzhou. Is it ironic or justifiable that technology is being used around the world to make urban environments more livable, when it was technology that accelerated the growth of modern cities and the problems it creates in the first place? 100 years ago, we had only 12 cities worldwide with populations greater than 1 million people. Today, there are over 500. And as we know, that's accelerating. Here in Southeast Asia, cities are expanding at a much quicker pace than the global average, with another 90 million expected to urbanize over the next decade. 50 years ago, there were 3 metro areas with at least 10 million people: Tokyo, New York, and Mexico City. Today, there are 31. And in 10 years, the UN forecasts there will be 14 cities with at least 20 million people. By 2050, there will be close to 10 billion people on the planet. They're being born into cities and increasingly moving there from rural locations for better education, better jobs, better health care, and a better quality of life. With this explosion in population and density comes many problems, much of them caused by the very technology that was supposed to help. Cars are an easy target for being massively inefficient. Beyond the incredible traffic jams and pollution, they cost citizens an average of 50 hours per year per person of wasted time. Jakarta is the extreme example. With a population of over 30 million people, it was recently reported as the city with the world's worst traffic, where the average person spends 22 days a year sitting in traffic. Along with power plants, combustion engine cars and trucks can contribute as much as 70% of air pollution in a city, with air pollution being a big deal. Currently, 95% of the world's population suffers from poor air quality, and it kills over 6 million people a year, making it the fourth largest cause of death worldwide. India and China, of course, are leading the way. Advances in energy efficiency haven't kept up or been adopted as quickly as the pace of population explosion, and as a result, today, as much as 80% of global energy use is consumed by urban environments. This lack of efficiency has fueled a technology-accelerated decline in many cities, as competitiveness suffers from lagging infrastructure that can't keep up. McKinsey has estimated that in Southeast Asia alone, $7 trillion of investment in infrastructure and real estate will be required to support sustainable growth. So, what is the root of this problem? The problem is that smart in smart cities isn't good enough. Smart is the ability to process data and perform routine functions. Smart, in a city's context, is connecting previously unconnected infrastructure, accessing the flow of information, and reasoning over it to make a decision. But having lots of information is not the same as being able to apply it to new situations, knowing how to build multimodal systems that rely on that information, or being able to scale it broadly and being able to take advantage of autonomy. I see this as the difference between being smart and being intelligent. Intelligence is more than smart. Intelligence is the ability to vary a response based on changing environments or based on past experience. Fundamentally, it's the ability to learn. And I will argue that what we need are intelligent cities, cities that respond to dynamic environments and changing conditions. Because cities that are intelligent and not just smart are the ones that will really thrive in the future. In order to go beyond simply smart connected devices, there are a few factors that we should consider to make a city intelligent. One thing is using technology to scale beyond single use cases and standalone pilots to a more holistic city thinking. This requires interoperability and fusion of data systems into city platforms, similar to what Barcelona is imagining and what Kuala Lumpur may achieve with Alibaba. Moreover, it requires governments around the world to commit to basic levels of technology-enabled services for their citizens, a higher bar for what is acceptable, below which could be considered negligent. In the US healthcare industry, this is referred to as a standard of care, typically defined as the level and type of care that any reasonably competent and skilled healthcare professional would have provided under the circumstance. Why shouldn't we hold our city operators to a similar standard in terms of air, water, and noise pollution levels, safety, mobility, and productivity? The other components for intelligent cities are the ability to learn and act upon information somewhat autonomously, so that services respond to events being reported in from sensors, and so that the smart systems have the ability to improve themselves over time. Technology has fueled urbanization over the past century, and technology has created many of the problems that exist in cities. But I'm hopeful, now more than ever, that we can go from smart to intelligent. The reason is because this moment in time is unique. We now stand at a major inflection point in technology and its ability to transform the physical environments in which we live. The promise of artificial intelligence and machine learning technology is quite literally more powerful than anything that we've experienced before. Over the past 2 years, artificial intelligence has enabled learning and acting on information in a way that wasn't possible before. AI is transforming industries, certainly, like social media, e-commerce, and financial services. But this will become especially relevant to the Internet of Things, and especially smart cities. Deep learning is a powerful method of machine learning. When applied to audio signals, natural language, images and video streams, and even board games such as Go, it has proven to be more accurate and sophisticated than any human. Cameras in cities or airports are certainly not new, but what's changed is that they have gone from being dumb sensors requiring humans to actively monitor multiple video streams to being smart systems capable of autonomously and highly effectively identifying speeding cars or alerting its user when a physical line has been crossed, to now being intelligent and learning from their experience. Not only can these systems identify a specific person and locate them in a network of city cameras, they can understand and predict behavior of humans. For example, a retail customer demonstrating a propensity to buy or to shoplift, a student in class not paying attention, a drowsy bus driver, or a suspicious actor with a backpack in a train station. What fuels deep learning systems is data. The more data the network possesses, the more accurate the algorithms become. So the opportunity with smart cities is that there is so much data. It is an exploding opportunity of resource at the city level, but yet relatively little interpretation or action is being taken on that data yet. One recent estimate is that smart cities will generate over 16 zettabytes of data by 2020. That's over 250 billion DVDs. Only deep learning can generate insights from all that data that our cities can really use. It also reminds us of the tremendous resources available today all around us, ready to be harnessed for positive effect. One aspect of deep learning that is especially powerful is the interpretation of images and video content known as computer vision. Giving systems the ability to see is making computer vision a highly ubiquitous tool for gaining meaningful insights. It effectively is becoming the eye of IoT. This enables an incredibly broad range of IoT use cases. In a city context, it can be everything from cameras monitoring vehicles on highways to cameras on streetlights, autonomously managing parking spots, to cameras on public transit, counting people for route usage optimization, to emergency response services, pinpointing natural disasters based on camera sensor data. And because we're at a Bloomberg event, it would be irresponsible not to talk about the economic impact. Many smart city studies focus on the quality of life for citizens, and those are certainly compelling and not ignored here, but new data is coming out pointing to how these initiatives can actually make cities more competitive in a global economy and highlight the risks of not employing such strategies. A recent World Bank study of 750 cities concluded that the top 10 cities grew jobs 5 times faster than the other 90%. So there are clearly winning outcomes for cities that figure out the formula. On the flip side, a recent McKinsey study estimates that congestion on roads can cost somewhere between 2 and 5 points of GDP loss. Implementing smart city solutions across Southeast Asia alone could create as many as 1.5 million jobs. The message is clear. Investing in technology can not only improve quality of life for its citizens, it generates a competitive, measurable economic outcome, and to ignore it would leave cities literally in the dust. The good news is that the technology exists today. And as William Gibson famously said, the future is here, it's just not evenly distributed. The problems technology has caused are closer to being solved than we may have feared. And the technology exists. What's left is the courage to act and the vision to invest. So I'd ask you to be encouraged. Encouraged that changes in the technology landscape, as significant as the development of the internet itself, are now able to start helping cities truly move from being connected to being smart and ultimately to being intelligent. And I hope you're motivated to integrate these thoughts and ideas into your smart city efforts. Thank you.